Here is something most backyard birders never want to hear. That bird feeder you've been faithfully filling every weekend. It might be doing more harm than good, not because the seed is toxic, not because birds don't love it, but because it is replacing something far more powerful, and you're paying a premium every month for a pale imitation of what nature can provide for free. Let me explain what I mean. The convenience trap nobody talks about. Walk into any garden center, and you'll find entire aisles dedicated to bird feeders, specialty seed blends, and squirrel-proof hardware. The bird feeding industry in North America generates over $4 billion annually, and that number keeps climbing as seed prices rise alongside inflation. Viewers in the comments have been saying it for months. It is like $150 a month just on birdseed. I fill 3 feeders and by noon, they're all empty. Sound familiar? But here is the deeper problem. A feeder, no matter how expensive or well-positioned, is a one-trick solution for a multi-layered problem. It addresses hunger for seed-eating species, and only seed-eating species. It offers nothing to warblers, cuckoos, hummingbirds, or the dozens of insectivorous birds quietly passing through your yard. It provides no shelter, no nesting space, no water, no protection from the red-tailed hawk sitting in your neighbor's oak tree. And critically, it does nothing for the insects, butterflies, and native bees that form the invisible backbone of a functioning backyard ecosystem. A feeder doesn't create habitat. It creates dependency. What birds actually need. This isn't what you were taught. Research out of the Cornell Lab of Ornithology consistently shows that the single biggest driver of songbird population decline isn't hunting or climate change. It is habitat loss. Specifically, the disappearance of the layered, diverse plant communities that birds evolved alongside for millions of years. Birds need 4 things: food, water, cover, and a place to raise their young. A feeder addresses one fragment of one of those 4 needs. An ecosystem, even a small backyard one, can address all 4 simultaneously. So let's build one. Here is how to think about it. Layer 1. Food that feeds the whole chain. The most counterintuitive shift in backyard bird thinking goes like this. Stop feeding birds directly, and start feeding the insects that feed the birds. Dr. Doug Tallamy, a professor of entomology at the University of Delaware, whose work has become foundational in native plant circles, has documented that a single pair of nesting Carolina chickadees must find between 6,000 and 9,000 caterpillars to successfully raise one clutch of chicks, not seeds, not suet, caterpillars. Sparrows, which most people think of as pure seed eaters, switch almost entirely to insects during breeding season to fuel their chicks' explosive growth. The same is true for finches, wrens, and even some woodpeckers during nesting months. This means that planting native wildflowers and caterpillar host plants doesn't just attract birds. It powers the reproductive engine of your entire local bird population. Native coneflowers, black-eyed Susans, goldenrod, and native asters produce both seeds that birds eat directly and support the caterpillar populations that feed nestlings, dead stems, and dried flower heads that you'd normally cut down in fall. Leave them. Birds will pick insects out of those stems through the coldest months. One commenter who'd been gardening this way for 2 years described it well. So many birds in my yard this year. Hummingbirds, finches, goldfinches, a Carolina wren who comes back every year. I stopped buying birdseed and never looked back. Host plants are the other pillar. Native oaks, cherries, willows, and native shrubs like buttonbush and native viburnums support hundreds of caterpillar species each. Oaks alone host over 500 species of Lepidoptera larvae in eastern North America. More than almost any other genus on the continent, plant one oak, and you've deployed a caterpillar factory that will run for decades. Layer 2. The shrub problem. Most yards get this completely wrong. Here is where the average backyard habitat plan falls apart. People plant wildflowers, maybe a tree or two, but shrubs, the messy, tangled middle layer of a functioning habitat, gets skipped, and this is a catastrophic mistake. Think of shrubs as the security system of your bird ecosystem. Song sparrows, gray catbirds, yellowthroats, and towhees don't just prefer dense shrub cover, they require it, without somewhere to instantly dart into. When a Cooper's hawk makes a pass, your yard becomes a hunting ground, not a sanctuary. One viewer who'd added dense native shrubs noted that birds that had previously only landed briefly on feeders were now nesting and raising young in their yard for the first time. That isn't an incremental improvement. That is a completely different category of experience. Species with thorny, dense branching, native hawthorns, wild roses, native hollies, offer the best predator protection. A mix of deciduous and evergreen shrubs ensures birds have refuge year-round, including during winter months, when cover is most scarce and most critical. And the same shrubs that shelter birds, they are also among the most productive caterpillar host plants. Native viburnums, native dogwoods, and buttonbush support dozens of butterfly and moth species. Their blooms feed specialist bees. Their berries sustain migrating thrushes and waxwings in fall. Dense shrub cover isn't just one thing. It is 5 things happening in the same square feet. Layer 3. Trees. The long game. Not every yard has room for trees, and not every yard should have large ones. Power lines, buildings, and small urban lots all impose real limits that are worth. Where trees can go, they function like the headquarters of a bird ecosystem. The highest-ranked caterpillar host plants in eastern North America, oaks, cherries, willows, and birches, are all trees. A mature native cherry in a suburban backyard can host over 450 species of moth and butterfly caterpillars. That isn't a food source. That is a grocery store. Trees also open up nesting niches that shrubs can't reach. Cavity nesting species, bluebirds, chickadees, nuthatches, screech owls, need deadwood and tree cavities that simply don't exist in feeder-only yards. Even adding dead branches or snags from a downed tree creates opportunities that a feeder never could. Layer 4. Water. The most underrated element in any yard. If you do one thing after watching, make it this. Add a water source with movement. The research on this is emphatic. Water features, more than almost any other single addition, trigger an immediate and dramatic spike in bird diversity. Migratory species that have never appeared in a yard before will show up within days of a pond being installed. One birder in the comments described Louisiana water thrushes appearing at their new pond, a species they'd never seen in their yard despite years of feeding. The reason is simple. Birds need water not just to drink, but to bathe. Clean feathers are functional feathers. Birds that can't bathe properly lose insulating ability and flight efficiency. Moving water, which catches light and produces sound, signals safety and quality to birds from considerable distances. A bird bath with a small recirculating pump is a legitimate starting point. A simple in-ground pond Even a 20-gallon, pre-formed liner transforms a yard's bird diversity almost overnight. Add shallow zones, birds prefer water no deeper than an inch or two for bathing. Surround it with native plants, and you've built something that will draw birds every single day for the rest of your life. The bigger picture. Here is what I want you to take away from all of this. A bird feeder asks nothing of your yard. It doesn't make it healthier, more biodiverse, or more resilient. It just adds a temporary food source that you have to constantly maintain and pay for. A backyard ecosystem asks something different. It asks you to see your yard not as a lawn with decorations, but as a living system, one where every plant choice contributes to the web of life. When you start seeing your yard that way, you stop asking, how do I attract birds? And start asking, what does this place need to come alive? That is a question worth asking. And the answer, layered plants, cover, water, caterpillars, turns out to be one of the most beautiful things you can build. What you just learned isn't a list of gardening tips. It is a way of reading landscapes. And once you see it, you can't unsee it anywhere you go.